30 seconds, gentlemen. I've got it. Yeah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us tonight on Thursday, March 20th for our 2025 full council meeting. We did not have a 5:30 finance meeting. It's the first time that I've known that. If you would, at this point in time, we're going to ask Mr. Daniel Johnson to come to the podium, and he will lead us in a moment, lead us in prayer. Then we'll have a 30-second moment of silence. And if you would remain standing with me after that for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Father, we come to you. We thank you for the city you've given us to live in. We thank you that we live in a blessed area. We thank you that you provide for us. Pray that you be with our city leaders now and just give them wisdom as they conduct the business that they're about to conduct. Give them insight. Pray that you would bless them with wisdom and the knowledge that they need. Pray that you be glorified in the way the city is run. And we ask these things in your name. Amen.
Right, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right. Ms. Palladino-Vaughn, would you mind giving us a roll call tonight?
Okay, thank you. Mr. George?
Here.
Ms. Wetzel? Here. Ms. Young?
Here.
Mr. Olson? Mr. Bradley?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Present.
Mr. Gray?
Here.
Mr. Keller?
Here.
Mayor Fred Teague?
Here.
Trey Smith?
Aye.
Okay, and Gina, I'm subbing in for Gina.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we hope you are.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, have you had the opportunity to look over the minutes for the February 20th, 25 meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion on those? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. At this time, Ms. Brittany Baker will come, and she's our finance director. She'll give us a finance report for February.
All right. General fund revenues for the month of February were $1,933,911. This was 8.6 year-to-date above budget projections. $1,201,788 of that was sales tax and state turnback. $481,041 was franchise fees and permits. $251,082 was other revenue. The tax revenue comparison for the city and county sales tax year-to-date for 2025, the city's portion of the county sales tax was $998,937. The county was $1,201,616. And both of these figures were slightly above budget for the year. February expenditures for the general fund were $1,573,388. And this is 3.2% above budget projections. Of that, $1,193,805 was personnel-related expenditures. $379,583 were utilities and others. Street fund revenues for February totaled $1,273,486. Of that, $750,017 was the 2021 sales tax. $264,102 was state turnback and ad valorem tax, $96,309 was interest, $4,700 was street cutting permits, $158,358 was other. Street operating revenue was 8.54% above budget projections. Street fund expenditures for February, operational expenses totaled $217,550. Of that, $139,162 was personnel-related expenses, $78,388 was utilities and other. Street capital spending was $24,339, and that was for computer equipment and a mulching head. The 2021 sales tax spending was $775,282. That was towards drainage maintenance, pavement preservation, downtown improvements, the Raise Grant Project, and US 64 East pedestrian improvements. State turnback street project spending totaled $192,924, which was towards the Corps of Engineer project. Economic development revenue for the month of February was $132,127. Of that, $111,645 was new sales tax and rent. $20,482 was interest. There were no February expenditures. Below are the balances of the various economic development funds as of the end of February. In total, those equal $6,029,503.46. Capital assets revenue for the month of February was $543. In total, that was all interest. There were no expenditures. Below is a breakdown of the 2021 1-cent sales tax, what was received, spent, and the current balances in the different funds. In total, the unspent balance is $22,197,604. Any questions? That concludes the finance report for February.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. All right, Mayor's report, I didn't have anything down, but I did want to say a quick thank you to all of our, I'm grateful to all of our emergency service workers at all times, but guys, we've got some crazy weather going on out there, and we've got firefighters all across the state and the nation battling things, and I see Officer Conway back there, and the firefighters can't do their job without RPD out there blocking the roads, and I do want to say a thank you. We do have mutual aid with surrounding towns. A lot of you may not know, but Pottsville and Dardanelle had teams on the ground with our teams last night fighting fires, and so we're definitely grateful to live in such an amazing community where we have people are ready to drop whatever they need to do to come to our aid, and I appreciate all of those officers and paramedics, and I know Pope County EMS had to cover some calls last night because we had medics out there in the grass fighting fires. So we appreciate all those people that are just coming together to make Russellville and the River Valley just amazing. So thank you. Mr. Mike Vernon with our departmental report from Animal Control.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to thank you for this time to share with you the 2024 highlights, and then afterwards we'll have a short slideshow. The Animal Control team responded to 1,540 complaints. 245 of those complaints were after hours. We received a total of 534 animals. 324 were adopted, 152 were returned to owner, and 22 cats and 5 dogs were sent to rescues. We also hosted many tours and had many adoption events during the year. That concludes my report, unless you have any questions. Thank you.
I do want to make a note for the public that on the 28th, I believe the Pope County Library is going to have their bookmobile
Yes,
at the
they-
animal
they will be
control, so they will be
next
out there. So
Friday.
that's a great opportunity for families to bring the kiddos out there, or if an adult wants to come out there.
Right.
Appreciate all you do, and also want to make note, a lot of people do not realize, but the animal shelter is taking care of 365 days a year, no matter rain, snow, sleet, whatever. Those babies are taken care of. Their kennels are cleaned and they're fed every day. And I appreciate your team for making sure that happens.
I do too.
Thank you.
you, Mayor.
All right, moving on. Mr. Gray, do we have anything for the Personnel Committee?
No report, Mayor.
All right. Mr. Keller, do you happen to have anything this week?
Yes, Mayor. We've got a few items from our Finance Committee last week. Item 1 is a consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk treasurer to accept the lowest responsible bid and to sign construction agreement and associated paperwork with Hard Rock Construction for the street improvements on Waterloo Avenue along East 2nd Street to South Elmira Avenue. We present item 1 as a motion to adopt.
All right, I have a motion to adopt. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to item 2.
Item 2 is consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk treasurer to accept the lowest responsible bid and to sign a contract agreement with Hard Rock Construction for the street improvements and on the alley between East 7th Street and East 8th Street. We present item 2 as a motion to adopt.
All right, I have a motion to approve. Any discussion on this? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to item 3.
Item 3 is an appropriation from the 2024 General Fund carryover balance in the sum of $794,506.25 to be a transfer to the Capital Asset Fund for the Phase 1 of the airport reconstruction project. And we present item 3 as a motion to adopt.
All right, I have a motion to adopt. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to item 4 and 4A.
Items 4 and 4A. Item 4 is an appropriation from the 2021 Parks and Rec Special Fund Reserves in the amount of $9,500 to purchase design services for the Russellville Skate Park expansion. And item 4A is consideration of a resolution for the city of Russellville to authorize the mayor and the city clerk treasurer to enter an agreement with Primary Concrete to procure design services for that expansion. We present items 4 and 4A as a motion to adopt.
All right, I have motions to adopt item 4 and 4A. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to item 5.
Last item on our agenda is item 5, which is consideration of an ordinance approving the private club permit for La Union Social Club and allowing for the application of the required permits from the Arkansas Alcoholic Beverage Control Division per Arkansas Code. We present item 5. I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read by title with short explanation for the first of 2 readings.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? I think we're on hold here until Mr. Smith gets back. He should be back in just a second.
An ordinance approving the city private club permit for La Union Social Club Incorporated required by the state private club permit application to the Arkansas Alcohol Beverage Control Division per ACA Section 3-9-222 as amended for other purposes. This ordinance passed would grant a city permit to La Union Social Club at the location of 2009 East Parkway Drive.
Okay, all right, thanks, sir.
And that's the last item on our agenda.
Thank you. All right, moving on to unfinished old business, we have a consideration ordinance rezoning certain property in the city of Russellville, Arkansas for other purposes located at the corner of South Vancouver and at West 12th. This is submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Rude Construction. This will be the third and final reading. We do have several that have signed up. I will call your name, and if you would, please come to the podium. Please state your name into the microphone for those at home so that they will be able to know who you are, even though we do know. And you will have 3 minutes put on the screen. I believe Mr. Hodge will do that. First on the agenda to speak will be Bill Eaton.
Already. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple of things I want to say in regard to this particular item. And I was glad to see the article in the Courier today about Government 101 for you and the council and others. And I'm proud to see and read that that is going on. I'm thinking back about this project, and my concerns about it are mainly twofold: drainage, stormwater runoff, and parking on the shared driveways in this proposal. And I'm thinking back about a book called The Infinite Game, and some of the things related in that are all kind of put together for this particular situation. Sam Walton's vision for a prospering business or community. Adam Smith's theory about consumption, considering how you drive your own car versus a rental car. A difference in working together with those who trust each other or not. And then a spirit of improving rather than winning, and cause blindness, and I put that in quotes, that is getting too wrapped up in our cause. At times we fail to recognize other strengths and our weaknesses that may have come about in the process of getting to this point on this one item. So, I think a lot of times our attitude is such that the idea that we project is that the disaster that follows after I'm here and have been in this position and that I'm gone will be your problem or someone else's. So here again, I've looked at the different subdivisions and the difference in the appearance of various periods of time in which development occurred in our city. There's not that tremendous difference in what has been proposed here and what we have. But my concern is more about those two things: traffic. Good Lord, I hope the city does something about improving the one north-south street through town and the two east-west streets through town, and the traffic that this kind of addition may have on other streets that goes into those arteries. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bill Eaton. Number 2 would be Mr. Phil Hutchison.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Phil Hutchison. I live at 1207 Whippoorwill. I'm an Arkansas registered professional civil engineer. I attended the public meeting and was able to ask and have answered several questions from the members of the developers team. The drainage plan was not provided, and the required plan view and cross-sections with dimensions. The stormwater model was not provided to show the amount of water over time that would be required to be put in the piping to be removed from the property. A piping plan was not provided to show how the water would be moved around the property and how it would be removed from the property. The existing ditch and piping behind my house does not have the capacity to carry the water from this proposed high density of impervious surface. An independent discharge pipe will be required to carry the water to Vancouver, cross Vancouver, and enter the Waco sump. This proposed pipe would intercept all water from the proposed development to prevent overloading the existing stormwater pipe that has a severely reduced capacity from the revised operation of the Waco sump. The runoff from the rains since the developer started clearing the property of underbrush and trees has caused flooding on some of the properties on Tulsa. Standing water days after the rain required adjacent homeowners to drain the standing water from the property to gain use of their property. A silt fence was not installed on the east side of the property adjacent to the property owners on Tulsa. The silt fence would not have stopped the floodwater from leaving in the new direction. The clearing removed the vegetation that was removing water from the soil. The water is now runoff and not groundwater. This is without any of the 32 houses, driveways, and of course the sidewalks that have 100% runoff. A few years ago, the area south and east of the apartment complex south of 12th Street had posted their stormwater permit and their installed stormwater mitigation measures. I assume that we haven't gotten to that point yet because I haven't seen one posted. Please table this issue until the proper scientific calculations for the runoff have been performed and for this new high-density development. Please table this issue until the route for the runoff required by city code has been submitted and approved. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. Ms. Joanne Puckett would be the next.
I'm Joanne Puckett, and I live on Vancouver, South Vancouver, and I'm just coming here to get a little knowledge in case there's other communities that want to be rezoned as walkable neighborhoods. And my question is, what criteria did this land meet that made it eligible to be rezoned as a walkable neighborhood? Because I haven't been able to figure that out yet.
Ms. John Dahl, can you address that? Please state your name when you get to the podium. You can stay there if you don't mind, Ms. Puckett, in case you have any other questions. I would just want her to answer your question.
My name is Sarah John Dahl, and there's not criteria that an applicant needs to meet in order to request a zone change. They came to us requesting a zone change, and we evaluate their request based on the surrounding neighborhood and what their proposal is.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, you can. We're here to answer your questions.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
my question would be, I researched this online, and from what I'm reading, to be walkable, it needs to be able to, for the people that live there, to walk to shopping centers. So does it meet that criteria at all?
So walkable neighborhood, one of the ideals is that it would have access to amenities, schools, parks, trail systems. Those are all things that we're looking at with a walkable neighborhood. It is not immediately adjacent to shopping, but it is adjacent and near schools and parks that would help kind of encourage walkability, and that's what that walkable neighborhood is created to try and do.
I'm not sure what the criteria was there, but if there's no criteria out there, then I guess any community, any area could become walkable then, as best I can understand it.
I think that's correct. If
Anyone can apply to rezone any piece of property in the community. We look against the comprehensive plan, which the comprehensive plan calls for this area to be suburban residential, which suburban residential covers any residential zone within Russellville. So R1, R2, R3, R4. The walkable neighborhood, a mixed use, could also be considered residential. But then we also look at what the surrounding area is. And we've got some R1 here. Obviously, this existing property is R1, so single-family residential. Then to the south, we have R2 and R3. And we're looking at, that's apartment buildings and duplex. And I think there's some smaller apartment type style to the south of this property. So we're taking all of that into consideration and saying, what is proposed here fit in the neighborhood? And from staff's perspective, we were thinking that this would fit within that neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you.
Just one comment. This did come through the planning commission with approval, right? So this went through several channels before it got to us as well. And it's just using flexibility because, as I understand it, what the developer is trying to do is just move the house up closer to the street and have a bigger backyard. It's basically covering the same footprint as just regular R1, correct?
Yes, it is basically covering, like you said, the same footprint as R1. The density is a lot closer to what R1 would be versus what they could potentially do under a walkable neighborhood, because walkable neighborhoods could have much smaller lot sizes for a single-family house. They're just trying to maximize the space on the property, give some room in the backyard by moving these houses closer to the front yard, which is not something that's permitted in that R1.
Thank you.
There's no other way to allow those setback changes without changing it to a walkable neighborhood, which allows a lot of other potential uses?
The only other thing they could do is if we changed R1 setbacks within the R1 district. So if we wanted all of the houses in an R1 zone to be closer to the front, that is one option we have. But that would change the area requirements on every single R1 lot in the city, and I do not believe that is really the intent that we were going for. And this already has those setbacks defined and gives them a path forward and is amenable to the neighborhood there.
And we couldn't do just a blanket on that property variance?
You would have to meet the criteria for a variance, and we wouldn't be able to do one variance for the whole property. We would have to do the number of units and individually. And then if you're granting 32 or 36 variances, then we have to reevaluate, are we trying to change something for all of R1, and should we be revising the code for R1 versus giving variances?
That kind of variance would lead us to litigation as well. Okay.
Potentially, yes.
All right, thank you, Ms. John Dahl. Thank you, Ms. Puckett. All right. So, where are we at? Go back here. I got my papers mixed up. Okay. So that's all that we have. Mr. Eddie Rude or Mr. Preston Rude, would you like to, you've both signed up to speak. Would you like to add anything to that? No. Okay, thank you. Would anyone like to engage them with any questions before I entertain a motion? Do what? You would have to have a motion. Okay, yes, okay.
I make a motion that we suspend the rules, read for the third and final time with a short explanation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the reading. All in favor? Any opposed? All right,
An ordinance rezoning certain realty in the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for the purposes this ordinance if passed, would rezone property at the 1000 block of South Vancouver, also identified by parcel number with Pope County Assessor's Office as 855-00031-00R, would rezone it from R1 to walkable neighborhood.
we open for discussion now?
Do what?
We're open for discussion now, right?
No?
Okay.
You have to have a motion first.
Oh,
Motion to adopt.
second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. Any discussion?
Yes, first, I would like to thank everyone who's been in this process for the last 3 months. A lot of times, this place is empty, and it hasn't been empty because there's been lots of people with lots of ideas, which is the way this system's supposed to work. So I really appreciate, believe it or not, I appreciate all the phone calls and all the concern over this and the meetings that we had and everyone presenting so passionately their position, because again, this is the way our great system is supposed to work. So I would just like to say that first. And I've listened very intently. I've taken more notes on this project than probably anything I can remember, at least in a very, very long time. So I really appreciate that input, and I have weighed it out as best as I possibly can.
Any other discussion? Have a motion to adopt and a second to adopt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Ms. Palladino-Bond, would you give us a roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Olson? Mr. Bradley? Mr. Pearson? Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Keller?
That's 6-1. That's a 6-1, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's 6-1, so the motion will carry. All right. Moving on to item 2.
I would like to add one thing.
Yes, sir.
Because one of the issues, the biggest concern is drainage, and now we will, correct me if I'm wrong, city engineer and
Yes.
city planner, now we will get to see what the drainage looks like. The engineers from both sides will come, and if there are problems, then I can promise you the city engineer will address them post haste.
Yes, yeah, the project will not move forward without the drainage problems being addressed. That's true. So, all right, thank you. Moving on to item 2, consideration of an ordinance to rezone a certain property from R1 to R2 medium-density residential located along the 1000 block of Sequoia Way, submitted by William Strait on behalf of Victor Melchor. This is recommended by the Planning Commission by a vote of 6-1. This is a second of 3 readings.
Mr. Mayor, I move we suspend the rules, read by title with short explanation for the second of 3 readings.
I have a motion to read. Let's get a second. We got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, sir.
An ordinance rezoning certain realty in the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for other purposes. The ordinance, if passed, would rezone property from R1 to R2 that is located around the 1000 block of Sequoia Way, as further identified by the Polk County Assessor Officer's parcel number as 780-00068-000R.
Thanks, sir. Moving on to new business, consideration of an ordinance authorizing an extension of sewer outside the city limits of the city of Russellville, Arkansas to 1285 East Gum Street for other purposes. This is submitted by Nicholas Haggerty. I do have one citizen that has registered to speak on this, and this is Ms. Terry Clear. If you would approach the podium and speak your name for those at home.
Hi, I'm Terry Clear. I moved here 4 years ago and have been enjoying getting involved in city government because we lived in an unincorporated area. So as such, I attended the March Planning Commission meeting and happened to be present for the discussion of extending the Russellville sewer for a 7-unit townhome complex at 1285 East Gum and constructing it prior to annexation. Having been a career firefighter for 22 years in a densely populated area, my interest was piqued by the points made by Division Chief Sedian. That prompted me to watch the agenda prep meeting as well. I believe that some of the questions posed and points made warrant further exploration. A point was raised regarding the ISO rating of the fire department. The Insurance Services Office, ISO, scores fire departments on how they're doing against its organization's standards to determine property insurance costs. The ISO rating is a nationwide standard for comparing the quality of fire protection services. There are 4 primary points which the rating is based. Emergency communication systems, such as 911 call centers, 10%. The fire department itself, including staffing, training, geographic distribution of fire companies, operational considerations, and community risk reduction, 50%. Its water supply, including conditions and maintenance of hydrants and amount of available water, 40%. And community risk reduction measures, including fire prevention codes and safety education, which is up to 5.5 points of extra credit. Russellville has a rating of 2, which is excellent. A rating of 1 has been obtained by less than 1% of fire departments in the nation. The Crow Mountain Fire Department has a rating of 5. That means that annexing after construction will bring the insurance rate down for the owner. The cost of insuring a rental unit averages 25% more than insuring an owner-occupied residence, so this could be a significant savings. Life safety of both residents and fire department personnel, as well as the protection of property, is of utmost importance to the fire service. The best way to ensure this is to follow the building codes and have the required inspections as specified by Russellville Code. Placing a fire hydrant on the property does not ensure that there will be an adequate water supply for fire suppression. What's the size of the main? Will it be a dead-end hydrant? Is the gallon per minute flow adequate for fire suppression of the proposed building? This project is planned just under the size that would trigger compliance with Russellville codes. A full set of plans is no guarantee that the project will meet Russellville building standards. So why not annex prior to constructions? Yes, the city of Russellville looks forward to growth, but at what expense? At one of the meetings, Ms. John Dahl stated that some places require annexation before construction. Perhaps Russellville should be one of those places. There have been issues with water supply and other properties that were annexed after construction that are now being rectified at the expense of taxpayers. This is just not right. So I will just hand these to you because my time is up.
Thank you, Ms. Claire. All right. We're back to consider this ordinance to extend this, authorizing the extension of sewer. I'll entertain a motion. Or let it lie.
Mayor, I move we suspend the rules, read by title with short explanation for the first of 3 readings.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sir?
An ordinance authorizing extension of sewer outside the city limits of the city of Russellville, Arkansas to 1285 East Scum Street. This ordinance, if passed, would allow a sewer extension to 1285 East Scum Street. That is in line with the procedures set out by ordinance number 1458.
All right. So item 2 will be consideration of a resolution setting a public hearing for the vacation of a 20-foot alley between lots 12 and 13. This is block 42 of the J.L. Shin Edition, City of Russellville, Arkansas. This is submitted by RVI Investments, LLC.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Have a motion to adopt? Have a motion and a second to adopt. Any discussion? Have a motion and a second to adopt. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving on to item 3 is consideration of an ordinance amending the current zoning code for the city of Russellville, Arkansas, ordinance 2443 and other purposes. This is submitted by the Planning Commission.
Mayor, I move we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, and read the first of 3 times by title with short explanation.
Second.
All right. Have a motion and a second on the reading. All in favor? Any opposed? Sir?
An ordinance amending the current zoning code for the city of Russellville, Arkansas, ordinance number 2443, and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would make the following amendments to the Russellville zoning code in Article 1, Section 11, lot of record, Article 2, Section 216, plan unit development, Article 3, Section 22.5, commercial building design regarding mechanical equipment. Article 7, Section 8.7, monumental signs. Article 8, Section 8.3, special use permits. Article 10, Section 10.5 and 10.6, administration and enforcement. Article 12, adding the definition for the term development, small-scale multifamily development.
Okay. All right. One last item I want to, Ms. Skelton asked me to address is we have a special call meeting on April 7th where we will address Phoenix Industries and I think we were going to talk about the
Property, yeah.
Gum Street. And she asked if you would be interested in moving the agenda prep to that night so you would not be here Monday and Tuesday night.
Works for me.
Work for you guys. We would address, we would start with finance and agenda prep at 5:30 and then finish it out, so. All right. No, she wanted to, she starts with agenda prep and go to that, agenda prep. Mr. Eaton, out of the respect for your service to the city, I would, if you would come to the podium, if you want to make another statement, sir.
And council, yes, I did sign up to. I was trying to listen to City Attorney Smith's elaboration on that item 3, and I could not hear it. And that's what I've had a question about as to exactly what the overall arching thing is here in changing the current zoning code.
Okay. Ms. John Dahl, can you explain, because Mr. Eaton, I do owe you an apology. I did not see that you signed up for both items to speak, so I apologize about that, sir.
Mr. Mayor, need to get your glasses.
Yeah, I need to do something, sir. If anybody can tell me that, sir, you're welcome to. Yeah, so I do apologize. Ms. John Dahl, if you can explain a little bit of that to him, sir. Thank you.
Yes, so Article 1.1 is some updates to the lot of record, just making it consistent with the width that's permitted outright in that zone. It was, lot of records had a larger width than what the area requirements permitted just for new lots in that zone. And so we're just cleaning that up for consistency. Article 2.16 for planned unit developments. There were a lot of items that were highlighted recently. I don't know if you've heard of Hudson Harbor, but there were some processes that we were working very hardly to make sure that it's cleaned up so future forward subdivisions that are developed as a PUD have straightforward processes and not so much things that we have to go through as staff to try and regulate that. Trying to make it as simple as possible for people as we move through these. Then Article 3.1.2 is the dimensional requirements, just adding a word structure so that you knew that the total height meant the total structure height for clarification. Commercial building design, Article 3.22.5 is just allowing some alternate methods of compliance with commercial building design. Again, trying to make sure that we're making things easier, but also allowing people to show that they can still meet the intent of the code. Article 7.87, monument sign regulations, just making sure that if that monument sign is being placed to a residential district, because in commercial districts, they don't have side yard setbacks, that they have to meet the side yard setback for the residential district that's neighboring so that they're not right on someone's property line. The procedure for authorizing under Article 8.3 is just clarifying that we're going to follow the same notification process for every single application type, and moving that to that notification in Article 10, which is zoning and administration, not having something separate anywhere. Again, for clarification, for ease of use for everyone. Article 8.4, just making sure that we had the right verbiage there for the fees regarding the sign that's needed for notification. Article 10.5.2 is the public notification and hearing and making sure that it's notifying the right department and that we are getting the correct notification back, cleaning up some language that the city attorney had pointed out needed to be cleaned up with notification requirements, and then the documentation. And then finally, Article 12 is just clarifying small-scale multifamily developments, which we reference in the landscaping code, but we didn't actually have a definition for them, and so wanted to make sure that there was a definition there to clean that up so that it's consistent and fair for everyone. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Once again, my apologies, Mr. Eaton, and hopefully you'll forgive me. And that was one of one reading, so we will be able to discuss that at agenda
I
prep.
understand, but anyway, I hope you know I'm.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, well, you know, I know these ordinances and all always have this, and for other purposes, as Mr. Smith likes to put in those, and I just wanted to make sure I understood
Okay.
what some of these other purposes
Okay.
were.
All right,
in
I
this
appreciate that.
particular one.
Thank you so much. And that's a one-on-one reading, so we will be covering that on our agenda preps. I'll entertain a motion. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming tonight. We are adjourned.